Hey everyone, it's Chris, MTGO's Rick Start, and we're back with part 4. Let's start taking a look at the Mongooses in action, and we're going to watch Robin88's Slivers take them on here. Robin88 with a 4-color sliver build, using the Gemhide sliver, which I am not a huge personal fan of. However, Robin does have some snapcasters and some ways to use that extra mana, so makes sense for him. And we see a winged sliver coming down for Robin. Arid Mesa fetches a Valk, and that gets bolted. And if Robin lands a Crystalline Sliver, Crystalline Sliver is really the key to the Slivers decks, in my opinion. It shuts down all this spot removal that otherwise just brutalizes the things. Wasteland pretty good against filegott's deck. He only has 2 basic mountains as basic lands. Now he does have 4 wooded foothills, and he could fetch basic mountain, but he doesn't really need basic mountain. Torian Mauler, and there's a Karu Meerkat. Protection from blue, potentially relevant against Robin88 Slivers. He can't use that Snapcaster to take out the Meerkat. Of course, here he's going to bolt this with the flashback, and Torian Mauler goes to 4/4, but he's still going to be able to take it out with the 2 damage from the Snapcaster, so effectively trading. Muscle Sliver comes down, and Gemhide Sliver is going to beat in for 2. filegott will not block. And a lot of lands there for the 19-land deck that filegott is playing. And here we see a Karu Meerkat get championed, and there's the beatdown. And now the interesting thing about these changelings, of course, is that all the sliver effects are symmetrical. So his sliver gets a boost from the muscle sliver. It also gets shroud thanks to that crystalline sliver, and can tap for a mana if it needs to thanks to that Gemhide sliver. So changeling creatures really sort of the bane of the sliver deck's life in some respects. And let's see if he decides to bash in with that changeling berserker, and he does. And Robin's going to take it, keep his board intact, drop a blurred mongoose, and there's the sliver cycling guy is going to cycle for a necrotic sliver, and that's going to come down. Unfortunately, his stuff has shroud here, so not too much that fella can do. He can blow up that Valk and take him off blue, but that's not extremely important at this point. Chameleon Colossus, also a changeling, so it's going to have shroud and be pumped and be able to make itself bigger. So again, the changelings really taking him out. Now, of course, he can't cast it now because he blew up that other land, but he has that Barb Ring in place. So here comes the Chameleon Colossus, and it's 4/4 shroud at this point. Robin at 8, filegott at 11, and filegott with that 5/3 shroud, and of course his Chameleon Colossus is going to beat in as well, and he can pump the Chameleon Colossus if he needed to. One of those lands taken out there by the necrotic sliver. Robin will be able to stay alive because he sacrifices his guy that gives people shroud, and then he's able to blow up. Because the sacrifice is part of the cost, he can then use that to blow up the champion. But that, of course, returns the championed creature back to the battlefield. But that was a clever play on Robin's part. And now filegott has a force and a blue card, finally, if he needs them. He can't activate the champion. He's going to go ahead and cast fire just to take out the muscle sliver. But that is sacked in response to take out the Chameleon Colossus. And there's the beats that take it down. So let's take a look now at a matchup against elves. This is Cool Cat, who always shows up with elves. Why don't you start the video? There we go. All right. Cool Cat always shows up with elves. Rough Mole there down to 5 from filegott. Here's a Birchlore Rangers, which you can't daze because he can't fetch an island. Of course, with Fire and Ice in play, I wouldn't be too worried about it. Here comes a Priest. He's going to daze this one by hard casting it. I guess I should say he could have fetched the Valk there last turn, but wouldn't have wanted to in that situation. Copperhorn Scout comes down, and the Fire and Ice was very timely there. And Lightning Bolt to kill Priest of Titania. I find it amusing. Priest of Titania is a card you always counter, you always kill. It's the card that always seems to beat you. And then Matt Nass, of all people, the elf expert, was saying something on Channel Fireball this week about him wanting to cut it from Legacy Elves in favor of that new Glimpse of Nature variant, possibly, at least to try. He actually said Priest was underwhelming a lot of times, which, again, not my experience at all playing against elves, but either in Legacy or Legacy Tribal Wars, she's the one that gets everything going in my experience. Mercy Killing on the Taurian Mauler gave filegott a little army here. But some of these effects, these older elf effects that Cool Cat plays, trigger off total elves on the battlefield. So not too bad if you have to do that, because you can use, say, your Timberwatch elf to give a huge benefit. Well-Wisher, for instance, another one, gains you life. Pyrokinesis, of course, total blowout here, always is against elves. And again, it just turns out that filegott's decision to play a lot of these Pyrokinesis, Fire and Ice, these sort of effects, very good against this sort of elf deck. And that's going to take care of the elves. Now let's go ahead and skip ahead to, let's see, which one of these did I have? I think this one. Actually, I'll show both of these. Here is a very quick match against Blippy, who is essentially playing a basically a Naya Blitz list from Standard with Lightning Bolts thrown in, as far as I can tell. And since I was also playing Burning Tree Emissaries and Lightning Maulers this week, at least I wasn't the only one. Flinthoof Boar comes down. Again, all this spot removal, pretty good against the deck that relies on Battalion and Soul Bond. So, Mayor of Averbrook, there's some more lands. Fire and Ice taking out the Mayor, doing some damage, and there you see the Fire Blast trick. He Fire Blasts, does 4 damage to the face, instantly gets the threshold, 2 Mongooses swing in for the remaining 6 damage, and takes out the game very quickly. So that's an example of how that Fire Blast can be used for that trick. And then we will take a look finally at one more against the Naya Blitz Humans here. Nice of Blippy to show up and play in the event. It was totally awesome. He used to run the event, of course, and he leads on a Champion of the Parish, and that gets lightning bolted. Mongoose is going to swing in, and now we're going to see Blippy do the classic, an instant classic, I should say, Burning Tree Emissary into Lightning Mauler, becoming one of the most famous aggro openings in the history of Standard Magic, quite possibly, over the last few months. Taurian Mauler coming down from filegott, and in swings the team for Blippy, and no blocks, and Burning Tree Emissary into Flinthoof Boar in this case, and that's going to make the Taurian Mauler a little bit bigger. He drops a Karu Meerkat, but in comes the whole big team here. The Meerkat is going to attempt to trade, as will the Flinthoof Boar, but the Flinthoof Boar gets Giant Growth, which saves it, and down comes a Mayor. In comes the Emissary and the Flinthoof Boar, putting him down to 3. And filegott really on his last legs here. He's able to play a Mongoose, but that is not going to do it, as the damage comes in and finishes him off. So, anyways, there's a look at some of the interesting decks in play, and keep in mind that basically Naya Blitz Humans deck, mostly standard legal with some lightning bolts tossed in. So if you're watching this and you need kind of a budget option on the weeks you can play Humans, which is only really like regular Tribal week. But anyways, it's sort of a budget option to consider that's kind of fun. You probably already own a lot of the cards for. So anyways, that'll be it for this week, and that's the Mongoose list, and join me next week.